Take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there, who gon' take it there? Electricity, 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 electricity. You know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air, you know what's in the air. It's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility, it's possibility.
So Tom Homan, Trump's border czar, is taking aim directly at AOC for, in his mind, the crime of communicating to her constituents their rights as per the Constitution. So Homan has gone on Fox News a couple times now to suggest that AOC is obstructing justice, she's obstructing ICE's business, whatever. And the first time he did this on Fox News, he suggested, well, she might be in trouble now, she might be breaking the law, kind of throwing a warning out there. And she laughed it off. She mocked him on Twitter, as she should. And then now he has made another appearance where he says that he has talked to the DOJ about possibly pursuing charges against her. And she once again responds and is completely unflapped and standing on the fact that she is within her constitutional bounds by telling immigrants, whether they be illegal or not, what their rights are when it comes to interacting with ICE. So I want to play a clip real quick of Tom Homan whining about it on TV and then show you AOC's response.
She's the dumbest congresswoman ever elected to Congress, and she proves that every day. And look, bottom line is, I can't believe any member of Congress, Republican, Democrat, Independent, would want to educate criminal illegal aliens who are in the country illegally, been convicted of a violent crime, and have been ordered removed by an immigration judge after due process at great taxpayer expense. You got a congressman or congresswoman that does not want ICE to do the job that Congress has mandated them to do and funds them to do.
So first of all, he says there, this is an interesting sleight of hand. He says the people that AOC is telling about their rights are people who have been convicted of violent crimes and been ordered by a judge to be removed. So that is a lie, because she is telling all constituents about their rights, and as many of her immigrant or undocumented immigrant constituents as she can. That's what she's doing. The idea that AOC is deliberately finding violent convicted criminals who have been ordered removed by an immigration judge and telling them how to avoid ICE is a lie. It's possible that some of those people are getting information from her, but guess what? That's their right. They have a right to do that. So Tom Homan has to start with that lie. He has to redirect people's attention to quote unquote criminals in any of these conversations to distract from the fact that we're talking about people's constitutional rights. And even that is egregious, because he's essentially saying that these people's constitutional rights don't matter and they shouldn't have the right to know about those rights because they've supposedly been convicted of a crime or ordered removed by a judge. So they're using the tactic that because these people have been criminalized, that means that rights do not apply to them. And one thing I've been struck by every time I see Tom Homan on TV is that ever since he has taken on these mass immigration raids as his project, he has not been projecting a lot of strength on TV. He has not been projecting this tough guy, badass, scary immigration czar type of image that he kind of was projecting before Donald Trump came into office. And in fact, he made waves at another point by going on TV and complaining about the very same thing, that activists in Chicago were informing people in the community of their rights when it came to ICE, and because of this, it was forcing ICE to back down. They were leaving from people's homes, or if someone was refusing to answer their questions and they didn't have any kind of warrant, then they would leave. And Tom Homan, really, in response to this, the only thing that he can do is try to bring people's attention, people on the right, bring their attention to the fact that there are activists like AOC or people in Chicago who are informing immigrants of their rights, and that is stopping up the process. But a lot of that confidence in these mass immigration raids and the Tough Guy Act seems to have been shaken pretty quickly in the process of actually trying to execute these raids. In other words, he doesn't really seem to have that much power when it comes to enforcing these immigration raids the way Donald Trump said that he wants to do them. So this doesn't mean that it's not going to get to a point where Tom Homan and the others who are enabling and working with him become genuinely scary and overly powerful figures. Because with the way the current political situation is laid out, the Supreme Court could hand over extra powers to ICE, or if if actual charges go through and find their way all the way up to the Supreme Court, then it's possible that the Supreme Court could rule on the side of AOC having done something illegal by presenting immigrants with information about their rights. So those scenarios are not inconceivable, and we don't know what type of timeline we're on. And it's possible that over the coming months, more and more resources and less constraints will be afforded to not just Tom Homan, but the other members of the cabinet as they go about wreaking havoc. But it is notable that some pretty basic pushback against ICE overreach, like the simple assertion that they don't have the right to enter people's homes without a warrant, or that people don't have to answer their questions unless there is some kind of cause for their arrest. That's enough to really gum up the works of what they're trying to do already. And so the reason Tom Homan keeps going on TV to shame and threaten AOC for this communication of people's rights is he knows that this would be a problem for him nationwide if more people did it. And the more people have this type of education about what to do if ICE confronts them, the less people they're going to be able to arrest. It's just that simple. They don't have the authority as of right now to just snatch people off the street and arrest them, no questions asked. And there's no doubt in my mind that that is happening in some cases. It might depend on the state or the city. And there's also no doubt in my mind that this is going to be an ongoing issue in terms of what type of powers ICE has and what type of power elected officials have to push back on what ICE is doing. And so that's why I want to say to AOC, if anybody who works for her is listening, or if anybody can get this message out to her, that she should 100% continue doing what she's doing and continue focusing on Tom Homan as a figure and positioning herself against him, because not only is it a way that she can pick a high-profile battle with somebody who already seems to be inching closer to overstepping the bounds of his authority and seems keenly aware of that fact and seems unwilling to step too far over that line as of yet. So that means he is vulnerable in terms of Trump world, and she is at a sufficient level of visibility as a public figure that her engaging with public disputes with this guy that also include cases in the court and other types of procedures could very well lead to some wins for the resistance, so to speak, or just for any form of stopping up Donald Trump's agenda and Tom Homan's agenda and forcing them to concede in terms of what they are able to do and to what extent. And AOC is in the perfect position to pick that fight with him. And I know it's a dangerous thing for her to do, and there could very well be consequences for doing it. Just because the Donald Trump administration doesn't have the ability right now to immediately go after her doesn't mean that that's not the kind of thing that we're going to start seeing happen. And it doesn't mean that there couldn't be real consequences to it. But if the law goes after her, and if Tom Homan is able to suggest the DOJ go after her and press charges, and the Supreme Court ends up clearing the way for her to go to jail or whatever happens, she should face that. And she should confront that head on and never stop asserting the constitutional rights that enable her to do what she's doing. Never stop asserting the constitutional rights of immigrants, and constantly use these things, just the information about these things, about what people do and don't have the right to say or not say, is enough to back these thugs off. And it gets this idiot, Tom Homan, who can barely speak properly, all flustered on TV, because he does not have that much power here. He does not have that much leverage. And so I think it's a good time for someone like AOC to push back against him specifically. She said it herself in a video that she put out, where she was talking about strategy going into this Donald Trump administration. And it's a long video. I definitely recommend everybody go watch it, because she is one of the few people who is speaking very sharply about strategy within the Democratic Party and reaching a lot of people while doing it. And one of the things that she said is that we have to pick something and focus on it, because everybody only has so much bandwidth. And we have to pick something and then be able to balance the level to which we focus on other things. And so I think that that's, in general, good advice. I don't think everyone should necessarily only focus on one thing, but especially if you're in a position to make a small amount of difference, then picking one thing as a core issue and attacking it relentlessly is probably a better idea than spreading ourselves too thin. And so for AOC, this would be an example of this. This is the right fight for her to pick. This is the right issue for her to be out ahead of. It's the right issue for her to make an example of, for her to make a martyr out of herself over, whatever it is, wherever the chips may fall. This is the right place for AOC to position herself, and she should do it unapologetically and accept whatever the consequences are. And all I can say is, as a small content creator with a growing audience and some kind of influence, whatever tiny amount of influence that affords me or will afford me in the future, I can say that as long as AOC holds consistent in her fight against Tom Homan and the Trump administration's immigration policy as a whole, and as long as she remains a prominent figure who is actively fighting against the machinery of Donald Trump's immigration policy, I will consistently support her on this platform, consistently cover her, consistently inform people about what she's saying and the status of these cases that are inevitably going to come about because of this. And I will maintain that message consistently so that, to whatever extent I can contribute to the grassroots support behind her, I will do that. And I will continue to do that, so that no matter what happens, whether there's legal consequences or congressional consequences or electoral consequences, whatever it is, if she stays strong behind that issue of immigration and continues to be a fighter against Trump and his cronies, then I will support her consistently. And, you know, we all know that left politics can be complicated. There's a lot of balls to keep in the air. It's hard to please everybody. I might not like everything that AOC does in Congress or every decision she makes in terms of what leverage she feels like she does or doesn't have. But I'm willing to say that if in this moment she holds strong against the Donald Trump administration and his cronies, that I will be a consistent voice of support for her no matter what happens, so that we can try to mount some unity behind that very important issue. And I will do whatever I can to help. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. And if you really want to support, consider becoming a member. It's the best way to support this channel. I'm going to be posting all kinds of exclusive content on there, music, beats. If you like the beats that play in the background of this podcast, all of that stuff's going to be posted there and more. And if you have any ideas for stuff that you'd like to see as exclusive content, let me know and we'll try some things out.